the clerk please call the roll?
Calling the roll for the Monday, February 5th, 2024 Board of Control meeting. It is 11:03 a.m. We have Council Levine Ross serving as an alternate for Meredith Turner.
Here.
Councilmember Dale Miller.
Here.
Beverly Meckler serving as an alternate for Purnell Jones Jr.
Here.
Melanie Say serving as an alternate for Mike Dever.
Here.
Catherine Gallagher serving as an alternate for Chris Ronay, County Executive.
Here.
Michael Chambers, Fiscal Officer, serving as Chairman.
Here.
Paul Porter.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. Next on our agenda here is the review and the approval of the minutes from January 29th. I will make a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Miller. All in favor to approve the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The minutes are approved. Any public comment?
No public comment.
Let's go to our first item.
First item, BC 2024-82, Department of Public Works submitting an amendment to a contract with AVI Food Systems Incorporated for food service operations at the Cuyahoga County Justice Center cafeteria for the period July 1st, 2012 through June 30th, 2024, to add $15,000 to the contract for anticipated loss of revenue payment to AVI Food Systems Incorporated, effective upon contract signatures of all parties.
Good morning, Matt Reimer with the Department of Public Works. AVI is the food services vendor that runs the cafeteria at the Justice Center complex. During the COVID pandemic, they were shut down, and as part of our negotiation for bringing them back to service jurors and the corrections officers were our two biggest stakeholders that needed food service returned. We negotiated an amendment that was approved in August of 2022 that approved, changed the terms to month-to-month loss responsibility to the county if there were any losses incurred. We hadn't added money at that time to the amendment because we hadn't anticipated any to start. We have had 3 such months in the year 2023. That amount totals $3,358.90. If approved, that's what this $15,000 would go towards paying those 3 invoices, and then any additional funds for future unanticipated losses. And that's done by monthly report to the county by AVI.
Thank you, Matt. Are there questions from the board on this item?
Yes.
Councilman.
How long is the contract with AVI for?
Amendment 3 was approved just late last year, and it extended it through June of this year. So there will be another action that needs to be taken. And
do you expect this thing about covering losses is going to continue in the next contract, or was that just a temporary thing?
we envisioned it at the time as temporary to get us to return to service until such time as we can solicit for a new contract. I don't have a timeline on that solicitation, no.
Okay.
Thanks, Melanie.
Okay, are there additional questions? Seeing no additional questions, I will make a motion to approve the item. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Paul Porter. All in favor to approve, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The item is approved.
Thank you.
Next item.
Next item, BC 2024-83, Court of Common Pleas, Juvenile Court Division submitting an RFP exemption which will result in award recommendation to Chess LLC in the amount not to exceed $12,000 for positive youth development services for the court-referred males ages 8 through 18 with high risk for recidivism for the period of July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2024, and submitting a contract with said RFP exemption.
Good morning, Tara Brown, Juvenile Court. This is one of our RFP exemption contracts. It's 100% reclaim funded. It's with CHESS, which stands for Creating Highly Educated Successful Students. So it's a positive youth development program that promotes self-awareness, self-confidence, in correlation with the game of chess. It's a 6-week program, so even though this contract is really late and it was just due to onboarding issues, this provider is new to the county process, we have enough referrals set and ready to go to actually have him, have kids go through the whole program.
Okay, thank you. Are there questions from the board? Seeing none, I will make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Levine Ross. All in favor to approve, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The item is approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2024-84, Sheriff's Department submitting an RFP exemption, which will result in an award recommendation to West Publishing Corporation, also known as Thomson Reuters, in the amount not to exceed $16,000 for the purchase of Clear Proflex software subscription services for Law Enforcement Division for the period February 1st, 2024 through December 31st, 2024, and submitting a purchase order with said RFP exemption.
Karen DiCarlo for the Sheriff's Department. The Sheriff's Department is requesting this not-to-exceed purchase order for 2024 with Thomas Reuters to provide an internet-based analytic search engine for use by law enforcement and intelligent analysis for the Sheriff's Department. It will allow investigators to search multiple platforms to assist with background checks, investigations, and warrant location information in both real-time and historical data.
Okay, thank you, Karen. Are there any questions from the board on this item? Seeing none, I will make the motion to approve. Is there a second? Second by Mr. McAleer. All in favor to approve, say aye. Aye. Opposed? The item's approved. Next item?
Next item, BC 2024-85, Medical Examiner's Office submitting an RFP exemption which will result in an award recommendation to Fisher Scientific Company LLC in the amount not to exceed $49,320.21 for a joint cooperative purchase of various laboratory equipment, general supplies, and chemicals for the toxicology department, and submitting a purchase order with said RFP exemption.
Hugh Shannon, Medical Examiner's Office. This is an order for just some general laboratory equipment for the toxicology lab. I believe the joint cooperative agreement that we were able to find will allow us to do this a little cheaper than normal and more efficiently.
Thank you, Hugh. Are there questions from the board? Seeing none, I will make a motion to approve. Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. McAleer. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The item is approved.
Thank you.
Next item.
Next item, BC 2024-86, Department of Public Safety and Justice Services submitting an RFP exemption which will result in an award recommendation to TAC Computer Incorporated in the amount not to exceed $10,800 for Ohio Law Enforcement Network subscription services and software support for use by the Northeast Ohio Regional Fusion Center for the period January 1st, 2024 through December 31st, 2026, and submitting a contract with said RFP exemption.
Good morning, Mary Beth Vaughn from Public Safety. TAC supplies the record management system to a large number of law enforcement agencies throughout Northeast Ohio. This system allows these agencies to share information on suspects. Although the Fusion Center does not contract with TAC for record management services, TAC does allow Fusion access to its data so that to help the Fusion Center on its homeland security efforts. Fusion's been using this proprietary service since 2012 and would like to continue to do so, and there is no increase in this contract value.
Thank you, Mary Beth. Are there questions from the board? Mr. McAleer, please.
Good morning, Mary Beth. Just a question on the funding source. Is there not a grant available for, I mean, usually you're pretty good at finding the grants to fund things like this.
Correct. There is not a grant available for this one because it's always been a general fund obligation. It would be considered supplanting by the federal government.
Any additional questions? Seeing none, I will make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Levine Ross. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The item's approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item.
Next item, BC 2024-87, Department of Health and Human Services, Cuyahoga Job and Family Services, submitting an RFP exemption which will result in a payment to Lutheran Metropolitan Ministries in the amount not to exceed $11,754.53 as final payment for the period July 1st, 2023 through July 31st, 2023 for services rendered under SNAP Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program to Skills Employment and Training Services Contract for the period of October 1st, 2020 through September 30th, 2023, and submitting a purchase order with said RFP exemption.
Good morning, Marcos Cortez with Health and Human Services on behalf of Cuyahoga Jobs and Family Services. Again, this is a final payment for an invoice for an old expired contract. The payment was processed normally when it came into our office. It was sent for payment. Unfortunately, it did not get paid, and by the time the vendor notified us that they did not receive their check, the contract had been closed.
Thank you, Marcos. Are there any questions from the board? Seeing none, I will make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
seconded by Mr. Councilman Miller. All in favor to approve, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The item is approved. Next item, please.
Next item, BC 2024-88, Department of Health and Human Services, Community Initiatives Division, Office of Homeless Services, submitting an amendment to a contract with Mental Health Services for Homeless Persons, DBA Frontline Service for Diversion Prevention Services in connection with the Continuum of Care Program for the period September 1st, 2022 through August 31st, 2023, to extend the time period to August 31st, 2024, to change the terms of insurance and attachment to budget effective September 1st, 2023, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $180,464.
Good morning, Erin Reardon, Office of Homeless Services. This is an amendment to our contract with Frontline for our prevention program. Frontline operates coordinated intake, which is our front door to the homeless system, and the prevention program is designed to work with clients that are facing homelessness to prevent them from entering into the shelter system by identifying other resources.
Okay, thank you, Aaron. Are there any questions from the board? Please, Levine.
Good morning, Erin. There is an increase on the contract from last year. Just wondering why it went up.
So we actually, Frontline originally had two contracts. One was for prevention and diversion, and one was for the Cleveland Mediation Center. And we determined that the Cleveland Mediation Center wasn't a good fit for the ESG fund, so we switched some of the funds from ESG to back to the diversion grant, and then switched some of our levy funds to pay for the CMC contract.
Are there any additional questions? Seeing no further questions, I will make the motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Levine Ross. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? The item is approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2024-89, Department of Health and Human Services, Community Initiatives Division, Office of Homeless Services, submitting an amendment to a contract with Westside Catholic Center for emergency shelter services for families in connection with the Continuum of Care Program for the period September 1st, 2022 through August 31st, 2023, to extend the time period to August 31st, 2024, to amend the terms of Exhibit 2 budget effective September 1st, 2023, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $63,730.
Good morning, Erin Reardon, Office of Homeless Services again. This is an amendment to our contract with Westside Catholic Center. They provide family shelter.
Thank you, Aaron. Are there any questions from the board on this item? Seeing no questions, I will make the motion to approve. Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. McAleer. All in favor to approve, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The item is approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2024-90, Department of Health and Human Services, Community Initiatives Division, Office of Homeless Services, submitting an amendment to a contract with Family Promise of Greater Cleveland for emergency shelter services for families in connection with the Continuum of Care Program for the period September 1st, 2022 through August 31st, 2023, to extend the time period to August 31st, 2024, to amend the terms of Exhibit 2 budget effective September 1st, 2023, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $68,800.
This is an amendment, Erin Reardon, Office of Homeless Services. This is an amendment to our contract with Family Promise. They serve primarily youth and young adult heads of household who are facing homelessness. So it's funding for their shelter.
Thank you, Aaron. Are there any questions from the board on this item? Seeing no questions, I will make the motion to approve. Is there a second? Second by Ms. Melanie Say. All in favor to approve, say aye. Aye. Opposed? The item is approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2024-91, Department of Health and Human Services, Community Initiatives Division, Office of Homeless Services, submitting an RFP exemption, which will result in an award of a master contract with various providers and the total amount not to exceed $469,229 for coordinated entry expansion services in connection with the Continuum of Care Program for the period November 1st, 2023 through January 31st, 2025, and submitting contracts as listed on the printed agenda under item B 1 and 2 with said RFP exemption.
Good morning, Erin Reardon, Office of Homeless Services again. This is part of our So I'll back up. Office of Homeless Services receives every year a grant for coordinated entry or coordinated intake, which is, again, it's the front door to the homeless continuum of care for any services. We applied for and received an expansion grant, which is something that HUD provides. If you score highly, they give you an expansion that allows you to look at ways to better provide services or to expand services in the continuum. We have elected to look at a pilot project between Frontline and United Way, which is designed to improve access to coordinated intake and access to shelter services. So United Way will be doing the screening for Frontline, the initial screening, and then making the most appropriate referrals to Frontline. And then Frontline has begun staffing housing navigators who will go directly out into the shelters to help people kind of negotiate that process and hopefully leave the shelter sooner.
Thank you, Erin. Are there any questions from the board? Seeing none, I will make the motion to approve the item. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Levine Ross. All in favor to approve, say aye. Aye. Opposed? The item is approved. Next item.
Thank you.
Next item, exemption BC 2024-92, Department of Public Works recommending an alternative procurement process which will result in various award recommendations to P&P Valley View Holdings, DBA Boyus Excavating, and a total amount not to exceed $200,000 for disposal of clean fill for the period February 5th, 2024 through February 4th, 2026.
Good morning, everyone. Tom Pavich, Public Works. This is an alternative procurement process that we're requesting for a 2-year period with Boyus. This is for our clean fill dumping. So when our sanitary road and bridge crews go out in the field, they're often have with them non-contaminated supplies. It could be tree branches, tree logs, concrete, gravel, sand. They need somewhere to dump that. So Boyus is an area vendor. They've previously provided those services for a number of years. We competitively bid this out all the time, and then we take that bid, their price quote, and we come to you guys for a 2-year period. Once this is in place, I anticipate in 2 weeks, the first not to exceed purchase order for $50,000 to come back for approval. So this is a 2-year exemption with a maximum of $200,000. It's going to be as needed purchase orders, and it's going to cover for our road and bridge and sanitary crews.
Thank you, Tom. Are there any questions from the board on this item? Seeing no questions, I will make a motion to approve the item. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Paul Porter. All in favor to approve, say aye. Aye. Opposed? The item's approved. Thank you. Moving on.
Consent agenda items are BC 2024-93 through BC 2024-95.
Just a couple items, board members. If there's any questions, feel free. Okay, seeing no questions, I will make a motion to approve today's consent agenda items as listed. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Miller. All in favor to approve, say aye. Aye. Opposed? The items are approved. Moving on to other business.
No other business?
Any public comment?
No public comment?
I will make a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Paul Porter. All in favor to adjourn,